All right, so the whole world finally knows about Aphorisms by Dominique Ropion, a new collection of fragrances that he is launching named after him, fragrances that he's created. I got to get my nose on these fragrances late September, early October during TFWA, but I had sampled one of the fragrances earlier than that, and I really, really enjoyed it. And after I got my nose on all of them, turns out to be my favorite. But the entire collection of fragrances are very complex and they deserve to be tested, worn, and seen how they, are experienced on the individual that's wearing them and testing them. But I first heard about this collection earlier this year, and I'm finally happy that they're out. At least I believe they're out. They are definitely publicized. And I'm going to go through all of the fragrances in this anticipation video. So if you want to find out about Aphorisms by Dominique Ropion, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Sebastian. I'm talking about Aphorisms by Dominique Ropion, a new collection of fragrances. In fact, there's a store, I believe, that is opening. The brand has a store in Paris, and I can't wait to go visit it. I knew where it was going because I found out all the details. It's just sometimes when I find out details about fragrances, I can't share it with the world because I've been told this is, top secret, and I can get into trouble is basically what I'm saying. But I'm excited for the fragrances. They're very, very complex fragrances. And the brand is actually named after a book that was written about Dominique Ropion called Aphorisms by Dominique Ropion. I don't know the details on the connection of that book and the collection of fragrances, but basically the fragrances are all created by Dominique Ropion, and there's 6 of them. One of the fragrances I tested twice, and I really enjoyed that one, and I'll let you know which one it is. But there's 6 total in the collection. And again, as I mentioned, they're very, very complex. They smell really, really complex and really intense experiences, and I believe these are all like straight up parfum fragrances, and they're also coming in the most gorgeous bottles. What do you guys think of these bottles? They're really super beautifully designed and they look like works of art. I've held them in my hand and they're really, really gorgeous. And again, very complex fragrances. I'm going to go through the fragrances in alphabetical order. But before I get to the fragrances, have you guys seen the book called Aphorisms by Dominique Ropion? Have you discovered these fragrances yet? Have you heard about them? Again, they do sound really, really amazing. And let's go ahead and go through the fragrances. So the first fragrance is A Rose is a Rose, featuring notes of bitter orange, grapefruit, cumin, safranal, pink pepper, blue chamomile for top notes. In the heart, you have geranium, Bulgarian rose, Isparta rose, Turkish rose, iris concrete, jasmine accord, floral, lactone accord. That's the heart notes. Finally, in the base notes, we've got cinnamon bark essence, clove essence, oud essence, Indonesian patchouli, Olibanum resinoid, gray amber accord, vanilla extract, and musk. So it's a rose fragrance. And to me, when I tested it, it didn't remind me of Portrait of a Lady, his most famous fragrance for Frederic Malle. But I quickly tested this one, and I remember it being very rosy. I'm just hoping that when I test it again, it won't remind me of a Portrait of a Lady. I don't think he would do a fragrance like this. I think he's come up with a very original fragrance, but when I'm going through the notes, it does have similar notes. It does have the incense, the patchouli. This one has a ton of different kinds of roses, so it's very deep, it's very rich with all of the notes from reading the notes breakdown. This also has some cumin essence, so it has that kind of a spice. I quite like that. And of course, lots of citruses for top notes as well. But it's a rose bomb, and it's appropriately named. A rose is a rose. We're getting a very spicy, earthy, and smoky rose take here on this fragrance. And again, I'd like to get my nose on it to let you guys know that, yeah, it is definitely something that smells like Portrait of a Lady. No, this is something completely original and unique. And also, a lot of the notes, as you can see, have the LMR. This is a special company in the south of France that produces ingredients, and I believe it's owned by IFF, where Dominique Ropion works. So it's a given that he's using some of the most quality, most amazing ingredients in putting together these fragrances named after him. So again, I tested them out. They're very quality and very complex. I want to play around with them more, but I think the fragrances are super luxurious, really intense experiences. And again, I can't wait to get my nose on all of these fragrances once again. So this was not my favorite of the collection, but I do want to test it out again because the one that stood out is coming up next. I'll let you know what it is. But let me know if you've gotten your nose on these fragrances already, and or if you are curious to get your nose on them. What do you think about them if you've already heard about them? So for me, the one that stood out the most is Crazy Garden. Really loved it. I sampled it once prior to sampling the entire collection, a couple of weeks prior, and I really loved it. And sure enough, when I sampled the entire collection side by side during TFWA, it stood out as the best for me. I really loved the way the fragrance was composed. I like the citrusy touches and the green touches together. And I love the name too, Crazy Garden. So Crazy Garden features notes of lemon, mandarin, rosemary, blackcurrant bud, green vegetal accord, and galbanum resinoid for top notes. Heart notes features rose accord, lily of the valley, jasmine, tuberose, floral lactone accord. Finally, in the base notes, we've got cashmeran, patchouli, vetiviral acetate, oak moss, labdanum, tonka beans, gray amber accord, vanilla accord, and musk. This stuff smelled fantastic. Once again, very deep, very rich, intense, and also comes in the most beautiful bottle. These bottles, works of art for me. I really love them. They're going to look great displayed on a dresser or something, a counter, but just really, really beautiful. I think they did really amazing creating these fragrances. And Dominique Ropion is giving us some of his best work here. If you look at the notes breakdown on all the fragrances, they're chock full of notes, reminding me of how fragrances were, you know, with the notes breakdown back in the days. They had a ton of notes, and that's how they're delivering us these fragrances. Again, I can't stress enough how complex and intense these fragrances are, but between all the fragrances, for me, Crazy Garden stood out the most, and I can't wait to actually wear it and enjoy it because it was that good. All right, up next, the third fragrance in alphabetical order. It's INSENSE. I think that's how you say this name. So this one actually stood out too, but still, for me, Crazy Garden was the best. This one features notes of polygonum, fresh ginger essence, pink pepper, Balkan juniper berry essence for the top notes. Heart notes features Turkish rose essence, violet flower accord, captive aqua flora, and then finally in the base notes, cashmeran, Virginian cedar essence, woody amber accord, olibanum essence, gray amber accord, and musk. I really did enjoy this, and it's interesting also, my displease of incense is turning around, and I'm really starting to enjoy incense again and the way they are being created lately. Whereas when it's just incense and smells like church, it gets a bit boring. This one was exciting enough. It had the rose and the violet for the heart notes, had musky notes in the dry down, lots of spices, the peppery spices. They actually accentuate the smokiness of the incense note. So this one actually was quite nice when I sampled it for the first time. And again, I want to get back and try this fragrance once again because it did smell great. But still, Crazy Garden is my favorite. But you know, that can change because when I start wearing these fragrances on skin, it would be different. But with my first sniff of this fragrance, I really did enjoy this one. In fact, I enjoyed every single one of them. They do require testing out though, as I said, because how complex they are and how intense they are. So they do require that. But for me, as far as smell goes, Crazy Garden really beat out every single one of them. So two of Dominique Ropion's most popular fragrances happens to be fragrances for Frederic Malle, rose-focused fragrance, Portrait of a Lady, and a tuberose-focused fragrance, Carnal Flower. So this fourth fragrance I'm going to talk to you about here now from the collection Aphorismes by Dominique Ropion is called Innocent Tuberose. And once again, his paying tribute to tuberose. Again, when I sampled all these fragrances, they did not remind me of some of the other fragrances I'm mentioning. They did seem very original, but I do want to circle back to them, and I'm hoping that when I test them again, they're not going to remind me of those two popular fragrances. So Innocent Tuberose has mandarin, grapefruit, bergamot, orange blossom, fresh ginger, cardamom, pink pepper, blackcurrant bud absolute for top notes. Heart notes features green lily of the valley accord, tuberose, extra ylang essence, jasmine sambac absolute, floral lactone accord. Finally, in the base notes, we've got cashmeran, cypriol heart essence, vetiver essence, gray amber accord, musk. If you have noticed, we have the floral lactone accord come up quite a bit. And I've mentioned with some white flowers, it does get lactonic and creamy milky. So he's adding this note to create a bit of a milky lactonic effect in fragrances. It will depend on how, prominent it is in the fragrances versus how it is not. But I do see it come up quite a bit. I do recall this one being my least favorite, but I have to get my nose on it again. It's a tuberose bomb in the end, but there's a lot going on here, especially with the spices and citruses up top. And then, of course, the musky notes and ambery notes in the base. So once again, it's very complex and very, original for a fragrance created by Dominique Ropion. And of course, he's going to do that with all the fragrances under this new brand name, especially named after him. So again, I want to get my nose on this one. If you've gotten your nose on these fragrances, do let us know how they smell. Put a comment down below. But as far as the fragrance goes, it turned out to be my least favorite of the bunch because I know I enjoy tuberose, but it's not my all-time favorite note. But again, I want to come back and circle back to it and see how it wears on skin. But if you have tested it, do let us know. Add a comment below. Let's find out. So up next, we've got a citrus-focused fragrance, or at least it's called or named after a citrus fruit. It's My Clementine. This one was fun and fresh. But again, I want to come back to it. I enjoy the clementine note. It's fun in fragrances. It adds a kind of a slight sweet tart effect for a citrusy note. But this features notes of lemon, sweet orange, yellow mandarin, petitgrain lemon, petitgrain bigarade, neroli essence, orange blossom absolute, spearmint, blackcurrant bud absolute for top notes. Heart features is jasmine accord, violet flower accord. Finally, in the base notes, patchouli essence, patchouli heart, tree moss absolute, gray amber, musk. So this one was very, very fresh and also really invigorating and very citrus focused. And of course, it has some citruses and then musky notes when it's drying down, ambery notes. It smelled great. It was definitely one of the ones that stood out for me. In fact, this might be my second favorite. It's a citrus after all, but I do want to get my nose on it. I really like the idea of clementine in fragrances because there's a lot of lemon fragrances, a lot of orange fragrances. Grapefruit is very popular as well, but clementine and tangerine don't come up quite often. And this is made in a very intense way, and I can't wait to get my nose on this one again and actually wear it. I'm hoping there's going to be a discovery set for the entire series, because I feel like this collection is going to be quite pricey, especially for the fact that how luxurious they are. And of course, it's got the name Dominique Ropion after it. But if you've sampled this one, let me know. If you haven't sampled it, what do you think? Does it sound great to you? Add a comment below, and let's move on to the next fragrance and the last fragrance. And last but not least, we've got Oud à l'Amour with a wonderful name. And I think this one is actually going to be very popular for the oud lover. I enjoyed this one, but I feel like Crazy Garden and also My Clementine were definitely my favorites from the collection. The incense was also great, but I enjoyed the oud and I want to circle back to it and sample it again. This has notes of pink pepper, pineapple for top notes. Heart, you've got geranium, Bulgarian rose, Isparta rose, Turkish rose. Finally, in the base notes, we've got cypriol, patchouli heart, oak moss absolute, cistus essence, olibanum resinoid, benzoin resinoid. So once again, it's an oud rose combo, but done very nicely. Remember, Dominique Ropion has created Hope recently for Frederic Malle, and of course he's created the Night, which is an animalic oud fragrance with rose, and of course with the rose fragrance, you've got Portrait of a Lady for Frederic Malle as well. In fact, the Night and Portrait of a Lady are really great layering combos, of expensive layering duo, but to me they wear really nicely together. It's almost like they were made for one another. You add more of a rosy, earthy, patchouli, smoky, fruity combo to the overdose of animalic oud in the Night. It makes for a great fragrance. I feel like this is kind of both similar, but less animalic in comparison to the night. It's definitely wearable, and I think it will be very popular, especially for the fact that people really enjoy oud and rose together, and this is really done nicely by Dominique Ropion. Again, I want to get my nose on this one again, wear it, test it out, because they seem very, very complex, and I personally don't want to decide yay or nay on these very complex fragrances because they surely go through a journey but when you're testing them out, because when I tested them out one time, they were pretty complex and intense, so they definitely deserve to be tested again. But still, my favorite is Crazy Garden, but who knows, that might change after I test these out and wear them. But as far as sniffs go, Crazy Garden smelled super fantastic, really, really loved it, and I really can't wait to wear, you know, on me and enjoy that fragrance because of how great it smelled. But if you've gotten your nose on these fragrances, let me know your thoughts. Which one are you enjoying? And if you're looking forward to sampling these, do let us know as well. Which one sounds the best to you? I don't have a pricing information. I hope to have that information soon. I have a feeling these are going to be quite pricey when they're, you know, finally selling here in the States. But they do seem quite luxurious and just very gorgeous with the presentation. Again, do let me know what your thoughts are on the presentation, the way the fragrances sound. Put a comment down below. Other than that, guys, that's all I have for you today. I'm really looking forward to trying these fragrances. Aphorisms by Dominique Ropion. Let me know if you're excited for them. Add a comment below. Otherwise, please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.